Hey guys, it's James from Man Tripping, and we are here to do a special recipe as I guess you could say it's a Thanksgiving recipe, but we're deliberately creating this in honor of Native American Heritage Day, which is the Friday following Thanksgiving. So for this recipe, I wanted to do something special. I wanted to do something that was as authentic as possible and honored the traditions, the culture, and the heritage of our Native American brothers and sisters the same way I enjoy cooking authentic Cajun or authentic French. And that was a little bit more difficult than I thought. Because when I looked for a Succotash recipe, which is kind of an iconic coastal Native American recipe from New England, there's a lot of different versions of it. A lot of different versions that included squash, but they usually started with yellow squash. And the yellow squash is a summer squash. Butternut squash and acorn squash are fall squashes. They stay fresh longer and they preserve. And if you're trying to do a recipe to honor a culture, then you best darn do it in a way that is as authentic as possible. Now, with that being said, I couldn't be as authentic as possible. While I looked for spices and seasonings and salt and realized that none of them were available, I also discovered that butter wasn't really available before 1620 either. Obviously, it was the Pilgrims and the Puritans and the other European settlers who brought pigs, who brought cows, who brought goats, who brought all sorts of other farm animals, along with salt and pepper and all those kind of things. So it's going to be a different recipe. You could go and make it as authentic as you want, or if you want to add some salt, if you want to add some pepper, if you want to make it right for your family, go ahead. But I wanted to do something that was unique, something that was authentic, and something that's a little bit fun. So this is one of the ones I cheated on, and as I looked through it, I'm like, they need some kind of a grease or a butter or something to get all the flavors going. What the Native American tribes in New England used, actually, was bear grease. Bear grease, you say? Yeah, I had the same reaction. So lard isn't authentic because this lard comes from pig. However, bear grease is still rendered animal fat, so I'm going to allow it. So those are the kind of things that I had fun doing this recipe with, and I hope you guys do too. Along with the succotash, the other important thing that they had in the area was cranberries and maple syrup. So I'm going to do a cranberry sauce with cranberries, blueberries, and grapes as well. These things were also authentic to the tribes in New England, and they taste great. So, are you ready to go make some fun fall dishes? I am. Let's go. So while that's getting a little bit browned up a little bit, and kind of softening a little bit, we're going to go and chop the green beans. Oh, one of those got stuck in here a little bit, but that's okay. Because ultimately, everything's going to get all mixed together. So I love these Made-In knives. Made-In's been a good partner of ours by sending us some awesome knives. And it's really important that you have knives that are nice and sharp. I'm not a professional chef, but it's nice to have something that's safe because I've had a bunch of knives before that just don't cut right. They cut sloppy. The blade isn't sharp. The handle isn't great. But these are really good. Obviously, cutting green beans is pretty darn easy. But when it comes to cutting up the butternut squash, it's really important you get something that's going to be good. So I'm not going to cut these too much, but I definitely, things like that just aren't really going to be good in the succotash. And it doesn't need to be an even cut. A rough cut's probably actually a little bit better. So I'm going to let that go for right now. We're letting the butternut squash simmer a little bit over here. And I'm going to put a little bit of garlic in there as well. Now, obviously, the folks back in 1600s, before the Europeans arrived, did not have garlic like we have today. This is actually more of a Chinese, Asian style garlic that we've gotten through our global culture. But they did have onions, they did have garlic back then, so we're going to throw that in there. We also obviously did not have metal spoons, but that's okay. And I love this Maiden pan. Maiden. I actually bought this pan before they sent me the knives, and it's been a good cooking tool. I cook on this every single day of the week, and it's never done me wrong. So let's let that kind of simmer up a little bit. Oops, get that. So let's get this kind of going, get that softened up a little bit, and normally you could add onions here, but the important thing for succotash really is that you have the three sisters. And the three sisters would have been beans, corn, and squash. And these were the three things that were great during the summer when they were fresh, but they also did a great job at preserving over the winter. So while you might make this recipe in, let's say, August, and it might have fresh, beautiful corn, and it might even have the yellow squash that we had there too. But come November, way past the time that all the corn is harvested, you're going to want to have some dried corn that was preserved, some dried beans that were preserved, and squash as well. So let's go and put a little bit of water in there and get ready for the beans and the corn. So this squash is getting nice and good. You can see it's kind of got a little soft, a little fried, browned edges. Oh yeah, so good. So let's throw some of the beans in now. Like I said, you can use pretty much any kind of beans. I would try to find something that was authentic. One thing I found out is that, while we're trying to make something that's authentic to be Native American heritage, I discovered that beans really aren't even, for the most part, native to North America. They're actually South American. And that's okay, because our Native American brothers and sisters have actually been in the Americas for 10,000 plus years. And so we don't think about it. But they actually had some good trade routes and some other stuff going on where they traded stuff. So, but as far as I could tell, the most authentic bean that would have been in the New England area is this green beans, string bean. Well, they probably didn't look quite like this because these have been domesticated and altered stuff over the years, but there we go. So I just threw some water in here. I'm going to turn the fire up a little bit more to get that cooking. But the three sisters, like I said, you can't go wrong with them. Beans, corn, and squash. You can add some chicken broth or vegetable broth if you prefer. I kind of like the fact that this meal is pretty much, well, aside from the lard, it is pretty much vegan as well, and super low calorie, but sweet, flavorful, and all good. So we're going to just stir that around a little, mix it up, and then I'm going to let this sit for the next 20-30 minutes, just kind of simmering, and come back to it in a little bit to eat. While we're letting the succotash simmer a little bit, we're going to make some cranberry sauce. It's actually more of a cranberry relish. We're using. So to make sure you wash out your cranberries, because even though Ocean Spray does a really good job of making sure that they are nice and clean, cranberries have a bad habit of having some that are half opened and just not so good. Like you see that one little one right there. Whoop. You don't really want that in your cranberry sauce. So these are all rinsed off now, and I'm going to take them over here, and we're going to sort them out a little bit. So you can see ones like that, you don't really want that in your sauce. So I'm going to go sort through these, and then we're going to put them in the pan and make some sauce. So when you look up cranberry sauce or cranberry relish recipes on the internet, you're going to see it made with sugar, made with brown sugar sometimes, people using even Caro syrup. But we are going to make it as authentic as possible, And that means no oranges, no sugar, no stuff that wasn't available before 1620. So for that, what we're really lucky to know is the native tribes had access to maple syrup, they had blueberries, they even had a distant relative of the Concord grape, and we mixed all that with cranberries. Who needs sugar? So let's go check it out, what this looks like, because it is going to be one awesome sauce. And then we're going to kick it up a notch using some nuts as well. So this is going to be a great accompaniment to whatever kind of protein you decide to have. Now, if you want to go full authentic, we're looking at some salmon, we're looking at some fish, we're looking at some waterfowl, looking at some venison. All these make great, great proteins to go with your succotash and your cranberry sauce. So let's get cooking. For this recipe, we're going to put about 1 bag of cranberries. I'm going to save these other ones for later. So once you put them in, you're going to need some water. And I'm going to sweeten it up a little bit using some grape juice. This is Concord grape. I'm going to put about a cup or 2 in there to get that kind of nice and good. And it's really important that you make sure to use actual full-on grape juice, not grape juice cocktail, because a lot of the grape juice cocktails you see have sugar in them, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, all sorts of other stuff. They taste great. Kids love grape juice because it's super, super sweet. But we're going to do things in a different direction. We're trying to do something that's more authentic, and that means we're using the natural sweeteners and natural berries and natural fruits that they had in eastern Massachusetts around 1600. And that also includes this Run Amok maple syrup. This one's actually a wood-fired smoked maple syrup that's as authentic as we could find. They got great maple syrup at Run Amok. We love their stuff. And why would you ever put sugar in a natural, delicious recipe when you can put some grape juice to sweeten it up and a little bit of maple syrup? So we're going to pour some maple syrup in here, probably about a 1/4 cup, maybe 1/2 cup. We're going to taste this up later to see how we like it. You can always add more. So right now we're going to stir this up. So now we're going to stir it up a little bit, get it all mixed together. And then we're going to put the lid on, because this next process, while it seems like you're just cooking them up and softening them up, these cranberries actually have a lot of water and air inside of it. What happens when you heat up water and you heat up air? Well, these things actually are going to explode. So these are all like little bombs right there, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to mix it up, and then we're going to put the pan lid on so that it can cook and simmer down and get ready to turn into our sauce, or relish if you prefer. And I think they're almost done. Let's look at that inside. You can see them nice and bubbling up. They are pretty much all popped. We heard them popping a little bit ago. And I'm going to pound it down a little bit, kind of get some of the ones that are popped, but get that the skins. And you can see definitely this has turned red, and that's why you want to make sure you're wearing a apron or some kind of clothes that aren't going to be causing issues, because cranberries were also used as a dye by Native American tribes, and you only want to dye stuff that you mean to dye. So we're pretty much done with our recipe. We got the succotash over here that's simmering. Now you can cook it after about 20-30 minutes, but I like to leave it on for 40-50 minutes to get nice and kind of mishmash all the flavors together as they kind of meld. This is really important because, from a European perspective, we've been really spoiled by adding salt and pepper and spices. And in fact, that's really what led to European colonialism, searching for spices and ways to make the food taste better. But this is about being authentic, and so slow, careful, meticulous time spent roasting over the fire makes it just absolutely delicious. So we're going to be sampling this right here to see how this is going. We mix the blueberries in. I decided for this version not to go with the walnuts, but you can. But let's see how this goes, because it's really up to you how you want to go. If you want to have it more sweet, less sweet, and we went a little bit less sweet with the maple syrup. But take a look at how good that is. We are going to sample this. So good, man. If you're looking for an authentic flavor, it's not too sweet, but still tart, something that has some good body, this is the recipe to go for. I think too often cranberry sauce and cranberry relish are more like a dessert, something to hide the flavors that you didn't like. But this, on the other hand, tastes real, tastes natural. The whole foods, the vitamins are still there. So you can see it in the camera a little bit more. Look at that. It's just so, so good. This is the Succotash right here. It's really super hot, so I have a pot holder below it so that my hand doesn't burn. But it is super, super good. You can see the corn, the beans, the butternut squash, all the flavor will kind of come together, form a little broth. And I tell you, it's tempting. It's really tempting to add some salt, add some pepper, add some other spices, and kind of, to please our European palate. But I tell you, for thousands of years, people in North America didn't. And the solution was to find vegetables, to find fruits, to find different food ingredients, different edible things that combine together to make something pretty darn tasty. So I tell you what, I'm looking forward to trying more of this. I had a little sample earlier. Check this out. It is so good. All these whole foods mixed together, super, super healthy. But more than important just being healthy, I really like exploring different cultures with their food. Because through this process of researching what ingredients were authentic at the time, I really got a chance to understand better. And I think that's kind of what's important about celebrating Native American Heritage Day. Too many of my conservative friends, and frankly quite a few of my liberal friends as well, just frankly don't understand. Well, it's supposed to be Black Friday, it's the day after Thanksgiving. Why should I care? Well, you should care because that's the heritage of our country too. We're celebrating their culture, but it's an opportunity to celebrate a different part of what the American experience is all about. And if you have the chance, if you have the opportunity, if you have some friends with Native American heritage, reach out, ask them for what kind of recipes their grandmas, their grandfathers, maybe even themselves or their mothers or dads make. Through asking these kind of questions and trying to learn about our heritage, it makes the world a lot better place. So, with that being said, guys, eat up, enjoy, have a great day, and I know I'm going to be loving this succotash and the cranberry sauce that I just made as well. So thanks a lot, guys. Till next time.